Oskar, a young boy, stares at his reflection in the window, lost in thought. His attention shifts to a car arriving outside, from which a girl and an older man with an unsettling presence emerge. Unable to place them, he quickly loses interest and returns to his reflection. Suddenly, he pulls a knife, though he's alone. Panic flashes as he hides the knife, fearing his mother's discovery. Meanwhile, the man and girl move into the apartment next door. The man suspiciously seals the windows using cardboard. The next day, during a safety awareness lesson, Oskar confidently answers questions about local crimes, including recent arson, but is mocked by classmates. Bullies taunt him, a cruel insult that fuels his violent fantasies at home, revealing how his isolation and school torment manifest in troubling ways. As night falls, Hakan's sinister actions come to light. Under the cover of darkness, he greets an unsuspecting man warmly, quickly incapacitating him forcefully and leaving him unconscious. Hakan drags the victim into a snowy forest, suspends him upside down, and drains his blood, suggesting he's harvesting it for a dark purpose, possibly to feed someone. His plan unravels when a curious dog stumbles upon the scene and starts barking. Despite Hakan's efforts to scare it off, the noise attracts the dog's owner. Panicked, Hakan escapes, leaving the victim's body behind. Moments later, the owner finds the scene while the dog, drawn to the spilled blood, begins lapping it up. Meanwhile, Oskar vents his pent-up aggression by slashing at a tree with his knife, muttering to himself in a disturbing manner. His ritual is interrupted by the mysterious girl from earlier, who introduces herself as Eli. She mentions living next door, but bluntly states they can't be friends, perhaps unsettled by Oskar's behavior. Without waiting for his response, Eli walks away, leaving him confused and frustrated, gripping his knife tightly. Later, Eli confronts Hakan, berating him for his careless handling of his latest victim. Her sharp reprimand makes it clear she's in charge, not a passive observer. Frustrated with his failures, Eli declares she'll handle things herself, confirming the truth hinted at all along. Eli is a vampire. The next day at school, Oskar endures relentless bullying, further chipping away at his fragile psyche. At home, his mother, gripped by fear over the local killings, nervously chats with friends on the phone. Her growing paranoia is clear, but Oskar remains detached. Instead of sharing her concern, he studies old newspapers, meticulously reading articles about the killer. His fascination with the crimes reveals a troubling shift, an emerging obsession with violence. Meanwhile, in a cafe, a team of old man friends are in a spirited discussion about government flaws. Their conversation halts when Hakan enters. Recognizing him, Lackey approaches Hakan, attempting small talk. The air turns tense, hinting that Lack's curiosity might lead to something far more dangerous. Hakan, living up to his name, responds to Lackey's approach with a vague excuse before hastily exiting the cafe, leaving the group puzzled by his odd behavior. Back at home, Oskar's mother heads to work, leaving him alone in their apartment. Seeking distraction, Oskar ventures outside into the snow, idly fiddling with a Rubik's Cube. As he focuses on the puzzle, Eli approaches him once more. Feigning fascination with the colorful cube, she strikes up a conversation, though her real interest seems more rooted in observing Oskar himself, perhaps drawn by his vulnerability. Eli asks how to solve the puzzle, and Oskar, eager to share his knowledge, gives her a quick tutorial before handing it over. Eli begins twisting the cube's sides, her movements deliberate but slow, as if her mind is elsewhere. While talking, Oskar bluntly asks Eli if she's showered, bothered by an unpleasant smell. Eli dismisses the question with a casual remark, brushing it off as unimportant. Unfazed, Oskar shrugs and walks away. As he leaves, Eli's expression shifts, revealing a deeper, hidden struggle she keeps to herself. Later that night, Lack parted ways with his friend after their cafe visit. The friend, walking alone through a dimly lit tunnel, hears a small voice calling for help, a young girl's peculiar, pleading tone. Concerned, he approaches, unaware of the lurking danger. The girl suddenly attacks, biting his neck with savage ferocity. Her guise of innocence shatters as she reveals her true nature, that Eli is a vampire. From afar, a man watches the horrific scene, frozen in fear. Unable to act, he neither intervenes nor reports what he has seen. Afterward, Lack and his group, concerned about their missing friend, rush to the location. By the time they arrive, there is no sign of him. Hakan has already disposed of the body, leaving no trace behind. This grim development confirms a troubling truth. Hakan is aiding Eli's survival, ensuring her access to blood by eliminating human victims and cleaning up the aftermath of her attacks. Their grim partnership suggests a shared secret built on necessity and darkness. The next day, Oskar beams with a rare smile as he toys with his Rubik's Cube, a clear sign that Eli has made a lasting impression on him. The hours seem to drag as he eagerly anticipates their next meeting. When evening arrives, the two finally come together at their usual spot, formally introducing themselves for the first time. Their conversation meanders to the topic of age, and Eli impresses Oskar by solving the Rubik's Cube effortlessly. Deepening their budding bond, Oskar offers the cube to her as a gift, which she gladly accepts. At school the following day, classes end, but Oskar lingers to jot down some notes. By the time he leaves, the sun is set, and the hallways are empty. Unfortunately, this makes him easy prey for Bully and his gang, who corner him outside. They demand to see what he is writing, but Oskar's refusal only fuels their cruelty. The confrontation escalates into a brutal attack, leaving Oskar injured. The arrival of his mother scares off the bullies, who scatter like startled animals. When questioned by his mother, Oskar claims he fell, hiding the truth to avoid further complications. However, when he later confides in Eli, her reaction is far different. Furious, she urges Oskar to fight back next time, no matter how outnumbered they might be. As Oskar and Eli grow closer, Hakan watches from the sidelines, his expression dark with envy. However, Eli and Oskar's friendship deepens further. Inspired by Eli's advice, Oskar decides to take action, enrolling in weightlifting classes to build his strength and confidence. Later, Oskar tries to offer Eli a treat. She hesitates at first, clearly conflicted, but eventually accepts it. This seemingly innocent gesture cements the trust and affection growing between them, though the nature of Eli's true appetite lingers ominously in the air. Eli falls ill after consuming the treat Oskar gave her, her vampire physiology rejecting anything but human blood. Oskar, deeply concerned, hugs her tightly, confessing his feelings. In a moment of vulnerable honesty, he tells Eli that he'd care for her just as much even if she weren't a girl. Though touched by his words, Eli keeps her emotions in check, hiding the fact that she's beginning to feel the same way about him. Later, Oskar visits his father, who is separated from his mother due to unresolved tensions. The two enjoy a brief, lighthearted reprieve from Oskar's troubles. While elsewhere, Hakan warns Eli about the growing risk of his face being recognized by others. He sternly advises her to avoid seeing Oskar that evening, and though reluctant, Eli silently agrees. Determined to cover his tracks, Hakan sets a new plan into motion. He infiltrates Oskar's school and abducts a student, intending to make the child his next victim. Just as he's about to act, the missing classmate's friends arrive, searching for him. Forced to abandon his plan, Hakan quickly hides, carrying a bowl of acid as insurance. The boys manage to rescue their friend unharmed, but Hakan, knowing the authorities will soon close in, makes a desperate decision. He pours the acid on himself, disfiguring his face to prevent recognition. That evening, Eli watches the news alone, learning of Hakan's arrest. His identity remains undisclosed thanks to the severe burns caused by the acid. Despite the chaos, Eli's expression reveals a mixture of relief and sadness as the fragile balance of her secretive life teeters on the edge of collapse. Eli sneaks into the hospital, finds Hakan's room, and climbs to the rooftop to meet him. With his disfigured face and fading will to live, Hakan offers his blood to Eli. She drains him dry, and he falls from the roof, ending his life. Meanwhile, Lack wakes up determined to find his friend's killer and shares his resolve with his girlfriend. That night, Eli appears at Oskar's window, asking for permission to enter. Once inside, she lies beside him after revealing she isn't a girl in the usual sense. Despite the awkwardness, they agree to take things slow, forming a stronger bond. The next morning, Oskar finds Eli gone, leaving only a note. At school, a skating event takes a dark turn when Bully confronts Oskar. Armed with a stick, Oskar fights back, leaving Bully in tears. While Oskar feels empowered, his mother scolds him for his actions and asks his father to intervene. Unlike her, his father remains calm, supporting Oskar and easing the tension. The next day, Eli watches Oskar swim after his workout. Later, she invites him to her home, where he proudly recounts how he stood up to Bully. Eli congratulates him, and they share a moment of music and relaxation. However, the mood shifts when Oskar accidentally cuts his hand and, in a strange gesture, offers to make a blood pact with Eli. Overwhelmed by the scent of blood, Eli succumbs to her instincts, drinking the blood pooling on the floor. Panicked by what she's done, she tells Oskar to leave and escapes to hide atop a tree, ashamed and conflicted. Meanwhile, Lacke discusses their deceased friend with the previous man and the others. His girlfriend seems indifferent, prompting an argument. Frustrated by her lack of concern, Lacke scolds her, but she walks off. Lacke chases after her, only for Eli to ambush for Lacke's girlfriend in search of more blood. Though injured, Lacke kicks Eli away, and Lacke rushes to her aid as Eli makes a hasty retreat. Back at home, Lacke's girlfriend rests, but is soon exposed to sunlight streaming through the window. To her horror, her skin begins to burn, proof that Eli's bite has turned his girlfriend into a vampire. Oskar spends time with his dad, but their bonding is interrupted by a bearded visitor. His dad starts drinking and smoking with the man, leaving Oskar upset and rereading Eli's farewell note, realizing she meant to leave forever. Meanwhile, Lacke's girlfriend visits Lacke and the man, but man's cats sense her vampiric nature and attack her. Lacke takes her to the hospital, where a hopeless Lacke's girlfriend asks the doctor to open the blinds. Sunlight floods the room, and she burns to death as Lacke and the doctor watch helplessly. Oskar later meets Eli, who confesses she's a vampire and has been stuck at the same age for years. She shows him a silver egg with a golden core, claiming it's incredibly valuable. Eli offers him money, but Oskar refuses, believing it's stolen. Despite her insistence, he walks away. At school, Oskar sees Bully being tormented by his older brother, recognizing the endless cycle of cruelty. That night, Eli visits Oskar and steps inside uninvited, causing her to bleed uncontrollably. Panicked, Oskar invites her in properly, stopping the bleeding. She tells him they're alike, she must kill to survive, and he has a desire to kill, urging him to join her way of life. Meanwhile, Oskar and Eli grow closer, while Lacke seeks girlfriend revenge. The next day, Oskar visits Eli's apartment and finds a note that she's in the bathroom. Lacke breaks in, but Oskar stops him from opening the blinds on Eli, who wakes and kills Lacke. Afterward, Eli kisses Oskar goodbye and vanishes. Oskar ignores his mom's yelling and locks himself in his room. Bully and his gang set a fire to isolate Oskar during swim class. They force him underwater, threatening his life, but Eli arrives, slaughtering the bullies to save him. The movie ends with Oskar on a train, taps the word kiss on a box containing Eli, and she taps back the same word. Did this story spook you out? Let us know in the comments below. For more horror movie recaps, subscribe to our channel, and we will see you on the next one. Fear awaits you.